with yourself in a safe level spot. Put up the e-brake and put the car in park. And now we begin the oil change. Everything is off. First step, we open up the hood. And this is usually where you'll see a hood latch located. As you can see, it's a Jeep Patriot. We're on the ground. I'm not going to be lifting up the car at all. In this case, the car is lifted enough to do the oil change sufficiently. You can see in this vehicle, the hood latch opens to the left like that, and we begin. This is also a good time, at the same time you're doing the oil change, take a look at your other fluids, top off your washer fluid if you want. You can see the oil type your car takes by looking at the oil cap. You can also use online reference. There's plenty of information out there, especially online. I'm going to be removing the dipstick, as you can see. You want to take off the oil cap before you drain the oil. This is an important step. Now, this is used to catch the old oil as we drain it. This I got from a parts store. You can see here it has a vent so it can collect fluid easily. You take off that cap, and it's ready to take fluid. I have myself here a socket set from a parts store, Duralast here. You look for the size you need. Millimeters or metric system works perfectly fine. It's a lot easier. In this case, for the Jeep Patriot 2014, I do believe it takes a 13 millimeter. That's what I use in this case. In this vehicle, like you saw, there are cutouts for the drain, and there's also a cutout for the oil filter, which makes it really convenient, hence why I don't need to raise up the car like other cars. I have myself a wrench. This is a Husky Flex Head 3/8 drive. So first thing I'm gonna do, I have the oil cap taken off on top, as you've seen. And now we're just gonna crack loose the drain plug. All you need to do is crack it loose, which will be seen here. After the drain plug is cracked loose, mind my foot there. That's part of the authenticity of the video. This is a very special tool used to remove oil filters. If you use a tool like this right, as you see how I'm holding it, it can really make an oil change job easy, especially for those spin off and spin on filters. You take the filter and This specific filter I got from Advanced Auto. You hold it with, you basically crack it open and hold it, and then you ideally stick that filter in there and twist it off, and that connects to a ratchet like the one I was using, which I will connect to as well. Again, the same ratchet. With a 3/8 its extension on the oil filter remover tool. I'm gonna pop that onto the ratchet, and we're gonna remove the oil filter. You always want to change the oil filter along with every oil change you do. Simply said. So again, pry it open, and with one hand hold it open, and you fit it right on. Make sure your ratchet is set to loosen, and you see the oil filter now cracked loose. One important step. Now, with both the drain plug cracked loose and the oil filter loosened with the special tool, now it's time to start draining. This is where you take the catch pan under. I'm using here my extension with the socket size to help break it loose more. And now I do feel that it's loose, so the rest goes by hand. One key note here, you see that I'm wearing gloves. These are diamond grip mechanic gloves. It is important to wear gloves. You don't want these type of fluids getting into your skin. And there goes the old oil. Once that has slowed down a bit in this vehicle, in this situation, especially with my drain pan, with my catch pan, it's convenient for me to position it in a way where I'm catching the fluid, and I will catch any fluid from the old oil filter. Same thing, you loosen the filter a little bit, and some fluid will come out. Once that's done, you completely remove the filter, as will be seen here. There's the old oil filter, now removed. So get yourself a rag, and like you've seen there, that's where the oil filter screws onto or spins onto. You want to clean that surface. A pro tip: once in a while, it's rare to see, but the rubber gasket from the old filter may stick onto that surface. So anyways, cleaning that median surface where the oil filter spins onto will do the trick. So always clean the surface. Now, with the new filter, you want to grease up or lube up the rubber gasket to make sure it doesn't rip when you tighten it step, and this will prevent the gasket sticking for the next oil change. And again, mind you, this is all on the ground. I did not lift up the vehicle. I did not bring any jack. Of course, this is a higher vehicle. It's an SUV, makes it easier, but it goes to show you can do this at home with just basic hand tools. So now you've seen me. I install the filter, the new filter. After lubing up the rubber, you just spin it on. And in this case, you just spin it until it's nice and tight, only with your hand. That's it. Every spin on oil filter, that's all that it requires. From cars to SUVs to trucks. All you have to do is spin it on tight with your hand. So, the new oil filter is installed, as you can see. And this is the drain plug. In this case, with most American domestic vehicles, there is rubber or a type of sealant on the drain plug. With every drain plug, I'll just clean it with a rag, like you see here. Other style of drain plugs will have a washer. Ideally, you want to replace that washer. I'm going to include in future videos and part of a full oil change care playlist, different types of vehicles and how the oil change works with them. In some European vehicles, in fact, the majority of them, they have cartridge filters, not spin-on filters. So those work a little differently. And then, of course, as I mentioned, different drain plugs will have washers on them, which I highly recommend you change. So after I clean the drain plug, I'm going to install the drain plug back. Oil has done draining. Everything is pretty much drained out. It's dripping now. So now we put back the drain plug. I'm going to be switching tools for the tightening process. I have here a simple ratchet 3/8 drive Duralast. It's a bit smaller than the other ratchet I used. So the smaller the tool, ideally, the less force it's going to have. I'm going to tighten the drain plug with the smaller wrench, the Duralast wrench, and just tighten it till snug. In a shop environment or professional environment, ideally we torque down the drain plugs. It's usually between 30 and 40 foot-pounds of torque. But in this case, being at home, a simple sized ratchet such as the one seen here does the trick. Just get it nice and tight. And you see here now I'm spinning the drain plug back on. You will make a little bit of a mess, but as long as you catch most of the oil, which I did, and you clean up after yourself, that's what's important. And now the drain plug is tight, oil filter is tight, everything's been cleaned up and lubed. It's time to put in the new oil. Pennzoil is my go-to oil, like you've seen there. This car takes 5W20. And it takes between 4.5 and 5 quarts of oil. In this case, I use the whole bottle, 5 quarts, Pennzoil, 5W20, platinum, full synthetic, and that does the trick. Ideally, you want to use a funnel. In this case, being like the cowboy I am in my garage, I just dump it from the bottle. But you want to include a funnel. That makes things a little less messier. But either way, the job will be done. You saw I put the dipstick back, and now oil is being poured in. Use online reference for your vehicle to learn and see how much oil it takes, and again, what type of oil it may require. It will usually tell you. And you can see here the bottle has its own measuring system, so I can figure out how much I need to put. So here I stopped at 4.5 quarts. That's what I had left behind. Now I clean everything up. I clean up that special mess I made. And that's really the oil change. It's something so simple, yet so important. Often neglected, unfortunately. And hand tight back your oil cap. And now we start the vehicle. You want to start the vehicle. You saw the oil light pressure was there and it went away. You want to start the vehicle because you want the oil to run through the oil filter, and that way you can properly check the level. Let the vehicle run for 10 seconds, and then we're going to check the oil level with the dipstick. So with the dipstick, any dipstick, if the vehicle has one, you take it out, dry it with a rag, put it back in, hold it for a second. Just a side note, in some European vehicles and other vehicles, they may not have a dipstick. They may have electronic check, but in this case, we are using a dipstick, and ideally you want it in the safe zone, like here. So in this case, it's pretty much in the halfway in the safe zone. We're gonna try to fill it up to the max, because that's what you want, the full amount of oil for your engine. You saw that I used 4.5 quarts of oil, and I'm going to end up using all 5 quarts of oil I had anyways. Don't forget to close everything back up. So after adding the full 5 quarts of oil, you can see it's at the full max line. Or for this dipstick in this car, it's at the top of the safe line, which is perfectly good and fine with me. That's what you want. Make sure everything is buttoned up. I check the level one more time and you can see it's beautiful level. That's how you want it, right at the max. Perfect. Lastly, you can reset an oil light. In this case, the way to reset the oil light in a Patriot, Jeep Patriot 2014, you turn on the ignition, give a good step on the gas pedal 3 times, and then you turn on the car. And then the oil maintenance reminder should be reset. Every vehicle will be different. Lastly, everything is clean up. And again, the tools I use are fairly simple. You can get it pretty much anywhere. Walmart has good pricing. Auto parts stores are decent too. You will need to go there for some of these parts, like this catch pan that I'm using. You can see I cleaned everything up with brake clean and an old rag. And the beautiful thing is the old oil now can be rightfully returned to any dumping or collecting center. Most auto parts stores take them, but you see this here, this is ready to go. And lastly, service is complete. You just want to check for any leaking. And that's it.